Garage is pretty much empty. Truck's packed, ready to go. Let's go weld some tubes.
Hang on there, Chief. That starts next week. Before we get there, I've got to clarify one thing from last video. Thank you to everyone new to the channel. There's over 500 of you. Yeah, I forgot a zero there. 5,000 of you smashing that subscribe button. That's awesome, but not nearly as awesome as the 82 of y'all smashing that GoFundMe goal. Special thanks to Mo, you absolute legend, with the 10K. Now, if you've been following along with us so far, you know that we've already done a video designing the frame for the Octane. But actually having it manufactured has been nothing short of a struggle, and as a result, it's kind of been my primary focus for the last 2 months now. In the end, we split the tubing into 3 groups. 15 tubes were sent to a motorsports company to be hand-bent into the car's various hoops and braces. 46 tubes were manufactured by our friend Charlie at his private machining business. And 33 tubes were made by yours truly. Looking at the square tubes first, a bunch of these have various holes and slots, different features that mate with the bushings and the other parts that we talked about last week. Some of them even have these Lincoln log-like cutouts that allow them to be assembled easier. They also have a bunch of tooling holes that we use to locate all of the sections of the frame relative to each other, so having all of these precision machined was definitely important to keeping all those relationships intact. On the other side of things, the round tubes just provide additional bracing and fill in the gaps. They don't need to really be as accurate as what the square tubes need to be. That's why I felt comfortable doing it myself. The process is pretty labor intensive and rather old school, but it starts by converting all the round tube models into sheet metal models so that they can be unrolled into a flat pattern. I can then print that flat pattern on paper. These templates get cut out individually and wrapped around the raw tubing material. The tubes were then cut to a rough length using a portable bandsaw, at which point they could then be notched. I initially profiled a tube using a Dremel, and it certainly worked, but took way too long and went through way too many cutoff wheels, which get expensive. So it definitely wasn't the right tool for the job. Instead, I went out and bought myself a vise and an angle grinder, which is definitely a lot more efficient. Once again, a cutoff wheel was used to make the rough cuts, and then a flap disc, which is basically a big aggressive sanding disc. Rinse and repeat for about 3 weekends, and you end up with some of these tubes in a whole box that you forget to take pictures of. With all that taken care of, the only thing left was our jig plate. While the square tubes locate sections of the frame relative to each other, each section is made out of several tubes, and they need to first be welded together. The various hole patterns in the jig plate allow us to use a series of bolts and what I'll call bumpers or rollers to accurately weld the different sections. It's really difficult to keep track of when all you see is all these holes, so I went ahead and just took a Sharpie and marked all the pairs together. With all of that behind us, it's time we actually started welding, so check in next week as we enter the first build day and really start to make this car a reality. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.